The United States are developing plans for additional outreach in Muslim communities and stepped up patrols at mosques.
Well, this is a serious time. One official tonight did not take the time to bask in the glory of what just happened. They talked about going forward. They talked about the notion of notifying law enforcement. You see the State Department tonight issuing travel alerts about travel across the world to be concerned about potential attacks. Again, no specific threat has been identified, but the officials I'm talking to tonight are saying you must look for the potential of a retaliatory attack, and that's exactly what they're going to do.
Everyone on high alert right now, but there's also tremendous jubilation. Chris Cuomo down at Ground Zero. The crowds have been gathering. The horns have been honking for the last hour.
Yeah, George, since I last spoke to you, they've closed off several of the streets down here, kind of surrendering to the moment. The local police are telling me it's not worth trying to clear people out. They need to have this moment. There are now about 4,000 people that are filling the streets down here at Church and VC, one of the most famous corners of the old World Trade Center. And you're seeing a whole range here. There are victims' families who have come down. People are on the phone. They're crying. They're calling people to come here and gather. You're hearing things like, we're all family tonight. Yes, you are hearing that reserved hostility towards Osama Bin Laden and a lot of the ugliness that goes along with that and the feeling that there has been justice. But there's not nearly as much of that as there is celebration. Seeing the national anthem, right now I'm looking at least a dozen flags who are waving. It's not unlike New Year's Eve. And as one victim's family member told me, in her mind, everything begins anew because of this. Now that said, it's still early. All of these people seem to be on the phone, George, telling other people to come here. The question is what it becomes later on. But right now, there's a lot of love. I mean, you know George very well, and everybody who's listening to this broadcast knows everybody feels like they were a victim of 9/11. Everybody knows somebody who was lost. And I'm running into people here in the crowd who I know, and we share people in common who we've lost. And for people like that, this was a moment that has been very long in the coming.
It was a day that transformed America, changed the way we lived in so many ways. We've been fighting wars now for 10 years. I want to bring in Brian Ross, our chief investigative correspondent, because we're all starting to get pictures of the compound where this operation took place today.
Absolutely, in this town of Abbottabad. And remarkably, in January of this year, a much-wanted Islamic militant was picked up and captured in this town. Another al-Qaeda figure was captured in January by forces. This is the town. We're told there is a fire underway, according to reports we're getting on the ground. On these pictures here from Geo Television, Pakistani network, that there was a fire there that continues. The operation may be ongoing, we're told, with more developments to come.
Ongoing, still a U.S. involvement still?
The U.S. is out of there. As best we know, the team was there, is out of there. But this is a place where a specially built compound was served as bin Laden's safe haven for so many years, with a military garrison nearby.
But he must not have had that much armed protection if he could be overtaken by 20 to 25 Navy SEALs.
That is a surprise. It was thought that he would probably have 20 to 25 bodyguards himself. Based on Jake Tapper's reporting from the White House, it seems the only people who put up a fight were the two couriers and perhaps bin Laden himself. The president said after a firefight, bin Laden was killed by the U.S. personnel.
And his body is being handled, the White House says tonight, in accordance with Islamic tradition. For those who didn't see earlier, the president went to the east room of the White House around 11:30 Eastern time to say that justice has been done.
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children. It was nearly 10 years ago that a bright September day was darkened by the worst attack on the American people in our history. The images of 9/11 are seared into our national memory. Hijacked planes cutting through a cloudless September sky, the Twin Towers collapsing to the ground, black smoke billowing up from the Pentagon, the wreckage of Flight 93 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where the actions of heroic citizens saved even more heartbreak and destruction. Then, last August, after years of painstaking work by our intelligence community, I was briefed on a possible lead to bin Laden. It was far from certain, and it took many months to run this thread to ground. I met repeatedly with my national security team as we developed more information about the possibility that we had located bin Laden hiding within a compound deep inside Pakistan. And finally, last week, I determined that we had enough intelligence to take action and authorized an operation to get Osama bin Laden and bring him to justice. Today, at my direction, the United States launched a targeted operation against that compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. A small team of Americans carried out the operation with extraordinary courage and capability. No Americans were harmed. They took care to avoid civilian casualties. After a firefight, they killed Osama bin Laden and took custody of his body.
The president early this evening from the East Room at the White House, Jake Tapper, is at the White House with more details on that extraordinary operation.
It sounds as though we're told by senior administration officials that Osama bin Laden did engage in firing himself in this firefight when the Navy SEALs stormed the compound in this hideout that had been built for him in 2005. And Osama bin Laden, 2 couriers and one of bin Laden's sons was killed as well. As a woman that these members of al-Qaeda used as a human shield. It was a fierce and ferocious firefight, but ultimately the U.S. was victorious. They had been doing surveillance on this compound for months and months and concluded that it was almost certainly where bin Laden would be hiding. Incredible tension in the Situation Room after the president gave the order, and the Navy SEALs, 2 helicopters full of Navy SEALs, went to this compound in Pakistan, then stormed the compound. It was about a 40-minute operation. They came back, and an incredible sigh of relief in the Situation Room by the president, his national security officials, and out in the street, George, I know you've shown this a few times, it's an incredible scene of Americans just coming together.